Welcome to my capstone presentation. My name is Julia Varnedoe and I'm a candidate in the Educational Specialist Program in Instructional Technology at Kennesaw State University. I'm a gifted education specialist at a public elementary school in Cobb County. For my capstone research project, I wanted to explore the use of online extensions within the gifted population. Gifted students' needs often go unmet. This is especially true in the elementary setting, where heterogeneous groupings, large class sizes, and a lack of training in differentiated instruction impacts gifted students. In order to meet their needs, the Cobb County School District provides advanced learning services for K-12 students called Target. Classes meet once per week and standards address cognitive and affective growth. We have to ask ourselves, is this enough? Gifted elementary school students are provided with limited opportunities to extend their understanding of curriculum topics at deeper levels, or engage in self-directed extension activities. My students will often ask for extra work that they can complete when they're not in target class. They tell me that they are not as challenged as they'd like to be in their general education classrooms, finish before other students, and often spend the time in between reading independently. I wanted to understand the needs of these students more. Specifically, how would they respond to the opportunity for curriculum extension, an activity that creates a deeper understanding of content taught in the classroom, and how would this affect their attitudes about learning? The purpose of the mixed method study was to determine if online extension lessons are an effective way for gifted students to continue learning beyond their target class. The study analyzed the connection between extension lessons, student online discussions, and engagement in learning among gifted elementary school students. 3 questions guided the study. To what extent will they choose to participate in extension lessons? Do online discussion groups motivate students to participate? And does participation influence their perception of how engaged they are in learning? While there's a long history of identifying gifted learners and giftedness, according to Plucker and Callahan, the bulk of the studies have lacked causal research. A major concern of advocates for gifted education is the absence of interventions in the elementary classroom that address the needs of gifted students. Differentiation in the general education classroom is one of the most common forms of programming. Unfortunately, the teacher focus tends to be on struggling students, resulting in insufficient challenge for gifted learners. Using digital technology for independent study can help bridge this gap by facilitating differentiation in the classroom. A mixed method concurrent triangulation design was chosen for this study, which utilized the concurrent but separate collection of both qualitative and quantitative data. The qualitative case study explored gifted student experiences with online extensions and their influence on social behaviors, motivation, and engagement in learning. Methods included a pre- and post-study survey, analysis of discussion forum content, and student-teacher interviews. Data was collected for 4 weeks. Web quests were used to deliver unit lessons that were accessible before, during, and after target class. Extension lessons were offered at the end of each unit lesson in the web quest. A summary of extension lesson components and time required to complete the lesson was also posted. Extension lesson topics address the cognitive gifted standards. Here's an example of the 4th and 5th grade web quest. Taking a look at lesson number 3, it was on critical thinking. There is also an overview. Here they read the post about global goals. Here they have the opportunity to watch some videos. And here are some more videos that get them thinking in different ways about their world. They can do as much or as little as they'd like. When they complete the activity, they go to the playground and enter into the discussion forum. Once students completed a post in Edmodo, they received an animated Edmodo badge based on the topic that they were posting on. 162 gifted 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade target students who participate in a BYOD program took part in the study. The majority of the participants were white, and the second highest ethnicity was Asian. This is proportional to the demographics of the school. Qualitative data was collected by analyzing open responses from the surveys, interview transcripts, and discussion forums. Thematic analysis was used to encode qualitative information, categorize data, and to identify patterns and common themes. Quantitative data was analyzed using descriptive statistics and disaggregated by grade level to identify patterns in student participation. Survey questions were evaluated using a mean to indicate overall agreement with the given statements. A pre-study student technology use survey was given to determine usage and attitudes toward technology, as well as the likelihood of participation in the extension lessons. 80% of the students surveyed bring a device to school, and 10% would like to bring one. Classroom devices were available to students who do not bring a device. Over half of the students, 53.8%, indicated that they are more motivated to complete activities when using a device. 52% of the students surveyed said they are more engaged because their device supports collaboration, and 33% are more engaged because their device lets them learn at their own pace. Students were asked about the likelihood of participation in extension activities given several scenarios. If the activities are offered on a worksheet, 18.8% said they would definitely participate. If activities are offered online, the number of students indicating that they would definitely participate jumped to 55.6%. Surprisingly, the ability to participate in a discussion group decreased likely participation by 10%. Following completion of the extension lessons, a post-study survey was conducted to determine student participation. 77.8% participated in at least one lesson, and more than half participated in between 2 and 4 lessons. Students rated the topics of the extension lessons they participated in. The mean scores indicate the average ratings were in the good and loved it range. Students rated the problem-solving and critical thinking extension lessons the highest. Students were also asked how they felt about the extension lessons at different times. The percentage of students who said they would definitely participate increased significantly to 60% following participation in a discussion forum, and jumped to 72% after students received a badge. These results indicate that the discussion forum and badges were motivating factors for students. The initial motivation to participate was predominantly intrinsic, with significant selection of the statements, "I was curious about the topics," and "I'm always looking for new ways to learn." Extrinsic motivators were also chosen, but to a lesser extent. To help identify motivating factors, students were asked to rate a series of statements on a Likert scale. The following statements were statistically significant: "The topics were interesting to me," "The lessons made me think about things in different ways," "I like the discussion forum," "The lessons allow me to go beyond what we learn in class," and "The lessons helped me to be more involved in my own learning." Looking at student engagement, over half of the students indicated the extension lessons helped them engage in learning by studying different topics and learning at a deeper level. 5 themes emerged from coding teacher and student interview transcripts: the influence of technology, motivating factors, perception of extension lessons, engaged behaviors, and student perceptions of learning. Because extension lessons are delivered online, it was important to understand how technology influences their participation. Responses were primarily positive, with the teacher mentioning that students equate technology to playing games. Negative views of technology were also noted. The second theme that emerged was motivating factors for participation, which included Edmodo badges, the type of content in the lessons, and participation in the discussion forum. The third theme concerned student perceptions of the extension lessons. Student feedback regarding the lessons was very positive, with the teacher noting how initial motivation to participate might differ from sustained motivation over time. The fourth theme that emerged was engaged behavior and included descriptors of how students feel and act when they are engaged in learning. The final theme to emerge was an unexpected theme that was defined as student perceptions of traditional learning activities, including the time available to dedicate to learning, and what it means to be a learner. Positive perceptions tended to cluster around those associated with engaged behavior, while the more negative perceptions were more closely associated with the word learning and traditional learning activities such as homework, classwork, and school. Interestingly, activities that were described as fun were not associated with learning, such as the student who enjoyed learning about things we, quote, don't usually learn about in school. Finally, data from the online discussion forum was evaluated to understand how the discussion forum related to student participation and motivation. 100% of third grade students participated in posting, with a mean of 3.21 posts per student. While the 4th and 5th grade students had a lower percentage of participation, these students posted more frequently to the discussion board with a mean of 5.82 posts per student. Discussion board posts were also analyzed by date to look at peak activity. The peak activity with both groups is correlated with the launch of Extension Lesson 2, which was problem solving. Content of the student discussion posts were analyzed and placed into active learning, conversation, or conflict categories. The majority of posts fell into the active learning category, which are most closely associated and aligned with behaviors exhibited during engaged learning activities. Further analysis of the subskills reveals that third grade students had more subskills clustered around active learning, while 4th and 5th grade students' subskills were clustered around active learning and conversation skills. This study analyzed the connection between online extension lessons, online discussions, and student engagement among gifted elementary school students. The influence of technology was seen throughout the results. 53% of students say device use influences their motivation, and 85% are more engaged in learning when using a device. Participation in online lessons is more likely than those offered on a worksheet, and computer activities were seen as fun, while traditional learning activities were seen as work. The study provided answers to research question 1. A majority of the students in the study participated in the extension lessons. 78% of the students participated in at least one lesson, and 56% participated in 2 to 4 lessons. Overall, they rated the extension lesson topics positively and enjoyed the lesson on problem solving by rating it the highest of all of the lessons. Students also mentioned lesson topics as being a factor for initial and continued participation in the lessons. Addressing research question 2, students are motivated by a variety of factors to participate in the lessons. The data suggests that access to the playground discussion forum was a significant initial motivating factor. 70% of the participants utilized the playground with a mean of 5.25 posts per student. The research identified other motivational factors that influence participation, including earning Edmodo badges and the content of the lessons, which students said should be fun and different from traditional learning activities such as homework and classwork. Using reinforcement such as badges would be recommended to encourage and sustain student motivation over time. Finally, addressing research question number 3, students described engaged behavior as being excited about learning. Extension lessons impacted student engagement by helping them learn at a deeper level, become more involved in their learning, and allowing them to go beyond what is learned in class. Furthermore, the content of discussion board posts identified 72% of the postings as having students engaged in active learning conversation skills. Following this research, there were several topics that emerged for further study. Positive and negative student perceptions of traditional learning activities should be explored to define how they impact self-directed learning behaviors of gifted students. Another area worth investigating is how time impacts student choices for participation in extension activities. Finally, it would be beneficial to structure the online discussion activities to be more aligned with research and data collection in future studies, perhaps utilizing the medium for online focus groups. Conducting this capstone research was a labor of love. I was able to learn more about gifted students and technology integration, two areas I'm very passionate about. Designing, conducting, and analyzing the research really stretched my abilities. At several points throughout the research, I wondered if I'd taken on more than I was capable of doing. What I learned was tremendous and gave me a deeper understanding of scholarly research that can be used to improve student outcomes and inform best practices. As an educator, prior to conducting the research, I had many questions about how to best meet the needs of my gifted students. While I thought many students would participate, I was surprised at just how many students took advantage of the extensions and what factors contributed to their engagement in learning. Their perceptions of traditional learning was an unexpected finding and something I'd like to continue to pursue with further research. Completing this experience has informed my abilities to address their needs much more effectively. Thank you.